Now, if you sort of use our framework and you sort of say, okay, what is it that, China's, the structure of China's economy has to change. Now, if you go back, so I would sort of look at it this way. I would say, and here maybe my Chicago roots will come out a little bit here. But if you look at China 20, 30 years ago, China made these changes in economic policy where basically goods and services began to be intermediated by markets rather than by government, okay, through prices. And China got a huge boost as a result of it. Okay? The second, and by the way, the best way to compare China is not to compare it to India or compare India to China. The best way to compare China is to compare it with Taiwan. Taiwan and Hong Kong are the counterfactuals for China. Right? Now, if you sort of look at them, what you sort of find is that, of course, they liberalized product markets, but China never liberalized factor markets. They never liberalized. The labor market has been liberalized very slowly over time. Land markets, especially rural land markets, have not been liberalized. And then if you look at capital markets, China still has a lot of directed credit. And the point is that the Chinese economy, meanwhile, has become much more complex. And there is a sense, I think what the Chinese government has been struggling with is control over this. And, I think if one looks at the lesson of this, you don't want to actually control the economy the way that you controlled it when it was a relatively simple one. So because if you try to do that, what you end up doing is you can't control the economy, so you end up controlling information about the economy. And that's the problem right now, to a great extent in the case of China. And there's a temptation in other middle-income countries and all too. So, if you can't control the economy, then okay, you know what? I'm going to control the flow of information. Yeah. That is a terrible thing to do, because what you end up doing is that then you end up controlling information for households and firms and so on, which is a very essential part of what they need to do. Yeah, because they need to make economic decisions, and these are complicated economic decisions. And if you control that information or you distort that information, even worse, they're going to make wrong decisions, right? So let's say, for example, that you find that because of the changing structure of the economy, because of the way it's being regulated and so on, you find that you see an increase in educated unemployment. And that's a very important signal for households as well as for firms and so on, saying, that why is educated unemployment rising to levels that could be 30, 40%? If instead what you sort of say, okay, you know what, I'm going to control this information. I'm not going to let you see it. How could that be a good thing? How could that be a good thing, right? So that's the same sort of thing that I think that the kind of problem that China is facing today, or that Brazil faced, are the sort of things that India will face, or India's already perhaps facing right now. And I think at this point you have to see, if you try to control, if you try to control the economy, you will fail when the economy becomes complicated, and then you'll be tempted to control information about the economy, and that's a dead end. I mean, talk about accelerating into a middle income trap. That's what it would be.